Now for more on the bite felt around the world. Thursday, the British Boxing Board of Control said it will meet next week to decide whether to ban boxer Mike Tyson for his, and I quote, cannibalistic activity last weekend in Las Vegas. And it gets worse. Board Chairman Leonard Reed says he will write to the European Boxing Union asking them to extend any ban to the whole of Europe. And from the scorned to the adored, Evander Holyfield was welcomed Thursday at Atlanta City Hall with the day named in his honor. Hundreds turned out to greet the champ, and even Mayor Bill Campbell couldn't resist poking fun at Evander, adding new meaning to cover up. No one ever said your ears. And oh, by the way, a club promoter in New York Wednesday night assured hundreds that Mike Tyson would show for a belated 31st birthday party, but Mike didn't bite or show, and fans left disappointed again. Inga?
Well, Wednesday is a big day in Nevada. The Nevada State Athletic Commission takes up the case of Mike Tyson's punishment. It is expected the former heavyweight champion of the world will be sharply reprimanded for deliberately biting the ears of Evander Holyfield during their bout 10 nights ago in Las Vegas. But while it is Tyson on trial in a way, it is an entire sport's future hanging in the balance. CNN SI senior correspondent Nick Charles sets the stage for this momentous occasion.
Mike Tyson claimed he snapped in the heat of battle the night he bit Evander Holyfield. Now it's the Nevada State Athletic Commission's turn to bite back.
Biting is not a part of boxing. Now everybody knows that. Should we allow it? No. Should we stand for it? No. Should we condemn it? Yes.
Tyson faces disciplinary action here Wednesday, and the task of the Athletic Commission is how severely to punish a fighter who's been a cash cow for Nevada, but a major embarrassment for boxing.
Boxing's big in Nevada, and economically it's important. But I think you have to go beyond the economic factors and do what's right for the sport. And certainly there's a myriad of pressures out there, but the bottom line is you have to do what's fair but firm.
Something like this has never happened before. I want to make sure that something like this will never, ever happen again. Not in the ring, not in the state of Nevada, but anywhere in the world.
Tyson's surge of fury has outraged not only some of the public, but the global community of boxing as well. The WBA just dropped him from its rankings, and the official from that organization who supervised the fight called Tyson's actions against Holyfield cannibalistic, and he's not waiting for Nevada to act.
We've already made recommendations that they should take very, very strong action. As far as we're concerned, I shall be recommending to my board on Wednesday that we shall ban Mr. Tyson for life. It means that if he ever wanted to come here to box, he would have to apply to us for a license, and that would be refused if my recommendations to the board are accepted.
The speculation is Tyson will be fined the maximum 10% of his $30 million purse and suspended from boxing 12 to 18 months. The chairman of the commission told us Tuesday, though, ordering Tyson to seek psychological help or perform community service will not be part of his disciplinary recommendation.
I really think the burden should be on Mike Tyson to do what he wants to do himself. And if Mike Tyson wants to get in the ring again, if Mike Tyson wants to fight again, I think Mike Tyson should show the world what he's going to do.
It's just so unbelievable, and watching the fight again, it's just inexplicable to me, and I think that's one of the reasons why we need to hear from Mike and have him explain his actions.
Mike Tyson has spent the vast majority of his time since the Holyfield fight sequestered behind these walls of his Las Vegas mansion. Because he remains sealed off, we can only speculate on what's been running through his mind. Did he say it all in his apology, or will he be at City Hall Wednesday to plead for leniency? The answer seems obvious. If Mike Tyson genuinely cares about saving his career and changing his behavior, then he will look into the eyes of the 5 men who will judge him and explain why he did what he did. Nick Charles, CNN SI.
Well, we can all find out what happens together. The proceedings will begin at noon Eastern Time Wednesday, and CNN SI will bring you the Tyson hearings live.
First, in a matter of minutes, the world will know Mike Tyson's penalty for biting Evander Holyfield's ears. The 5-member Nevada Athletic Commission will announce their decision to a jam-packed room of about 300. The hearing causing as much interest as one of Tyson's fights, which may not happen again in the U.S. for a while. Now, 2 of the 300 or so in Las Vegas, or in their case this morning, Charlie Steiner and Al Bernstein, who join us now to give us their views on what may take place as Mike Tyson prepares for yet another verdict. Charlie.
Good morning, John. It's about 9 o'clock here on the West Coast, or pretty near the West Coast in Las Vegas. Temperature's about 100 degrees, and it figures to get a lot hotter for Mike Tyson, who is not expected to be inside the hearing room inside the Las Vegas City Hall, which is directly behind me. As you mentioned, the 5 members of the Nevada State Athletic Commission will eventually rule on his immediate future, of course, joined as usual by Al Bernstein. In this case, the Nevada State Athletic Commission may have more pressure on them than Mike Tyson, because they are not only dealing with a boxing decision. This case is so above and beyond anything we have ever seen in prize fighting that they have to make a statement not only to the business of boxing, the state of Nevada, of which, of course, Tyson generates tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, but they also have to be legitimate with the rest of the society that we live in.
Well, you know, there is pressure coming at them from a number of different areas, even locally here, where there was a bill that went through the Nevada state legislature that would allow them even to take 100% of a boxer's purse, not retroactive, so it doesn't involve this case. But that created a lot of high emotion and volatility here in Nevada. And the larger issues that you alluded to are ones that are very much on their minds. What's very important, I think, for everybody to realize and for them to get across, and maybe for, in a way, the media to report accurately, is that what may seem like a slap on the wrist, perhaps to some people, isn't really a slap on the wrist in terms of a boxer's career, and that has to do, of course, with the amount of time that would be taken away from Mike Tyson.
Now, the Nevada Athletic Commission will have any number of options at its disposal. Most likely is a revocation of his license, which means he would have his license revoked for 1 year. Then Tyson could come back, show some kind of remorse or contrition or psychological help or any of those possibilities, and then come back and reapply. That seems to be the direction we're hearing the Athletic Commission is most likely to go.
Yeah, they will first take $3 million away from his purse. That's a given. I think a year is at the low end. I think a lot will depend on what kind of statement they want to make. If you make it a year, you have punished Mike Tyson because he already had several years off his career, and you're going to be really stalling a 31-year-old fighter. However, the sentence that I think would make a bigger statement would be 1.5 to 2 years. If they do that, then you know the Athletic Commission is trying to say, look, this was a very serious crime that Mike Tyson committed. It went beyond even the normal fouling in boxing, and so we want to really penalize him.
Legally, there is this whole question of revocation versus suspension. They can come down with a suspension of whatever amount of time they want. But the question of revocation is that he can't fight anywhere, at least based on the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and all of the other commissions in the United States would have to honor it, and then he would come back 1 year at a time or after a second year and then have to reapply. So we will see how that all plays out. A couple of players who will not see play out, of course, Mike Tyson, and we still have not heard word one from Don King.
No, Don King is not here, and he's not expected to be here. Neither is Mike Tyson, as you pointed out. That's an interesting call. On the one hand, the commission, you get the feeling maybe they would have liked to have seen him show his face here, but they were also clear that it would be better if he came alone. And let's face it, his whole managerial and consulting situation is in limbo. So we don't know who Mike Tyson is or isn't taking advice from, and who would be here with him if he brought someone.
And frankly, in covering Mike Tyson all the years that we have, Mike Tyson is never alone anyway. And there is some question as to whether or not John Horn and Rory Holloway are still his co-managers. There was one report in USA Today by John Saraceno which suggested that they were out. Don King, he has said, at least off the record to very few people he's spoken to, that until this thing is adjudicated, he would have nothing to say. So perhaps the loneliest man on earth today is Mike Tyson.
Well, he's in a position where clearly there's not much he can do, and he's also boxed into quite a marketing and PR corner, because he has said that he will abide by what this commission does. Now, if this commission goes up to 2 years, or if, in fact, they would do a lifetime ban, which is doubtful, Mike Tyson's in a real conundrum, because then his only other option would be to go out of the country to fight, which he still has to petition the Indiana court system to do, or try and fight in a non-commissioned state, which wouldn't fly really. So he's going to have a real problem backing out of that promise he made during his apology, in which he would accept his punishment.
Finally, let's address that issue, whether or not Mike Tyson can leave the country and fight someplace else, perhaps on pay-per-view. Two issues at play. One, as you alluded to, Judge Pat Gifford back in Indianapolis still oversees Mike Tyson's probation. The likelihood of her permitting Tyson to leave the country to circumvent a state regulatory agency's edict and then to go off and fight on pay-per-view and make tens of millions of dollars, the likelihood of her permitting him to leave the country is, I think, fairly remote. And secondly, the difficulty of having any kind of a legitimate company to sell this thing to their stockholders. We are going to sell this pay-per-view fight to a guy who is circumventing the laws of the United States to fight overseas. Will be not a tough sell, but a tough buy for the company that might want to telecast a Tyson fight overseas.
And the other part of it, it'll even be difficult for a name opponent to fight him. Holyfield certainly couldn't do it and uphold his image. George Foreman, who's the other likely one, would also have a problem because of all the attendant things involving him. He does 4 million endorsements. I'm not sure that would fly.
So Mike Tyson has a corner to box himself out of, and I think it's altogether fitting and proper that we're going to be covering a hearing today, and we'll get inside and you'll watch it live along with us. For now, we are live outside the Las Vegas City Hall with Al Bernstein. I'm Charlie Steiner. Back to the studio. John?
Thank you, Charlie. As you mentioned, that hearing begins in about 7.5 minutes. We'll have it live for you here on the ESPN television networks. The 5-member Nevada Athletic Commission will again render their decision on how long Mike Tyson will be suspended from boxing. Again, that decision in about 7.5 minutes. We'll have it for you live. It has come. The hearing for Mike Tyson is about to begin in Las Vegas, Nevada. What will the verdict be? We will find out during that hearing. We go now live to Las Vegas to begin the Mike Tyson hearing.
Commissioner Nat Caroselli. Here. And Commissioner Chairman Dr. Elias Ghanem.
Here. Adoption of the agenda for this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that item 1 under old business be moved to last and that we approve that amended agenda. Second.
There is a motion and a second.
We also need to delete item 2A. That fight has now fallen through.
Make that part of the motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Selection of the officials to work July 11th, 97 at the Tropicana Hotel on the WBF lightweight title, Juan Lozano versus James Creighton. Mark?
I recommend to the commission the referee be Joe Cortez, the judges be Dave Moretti, Patricia Morse-Jarman, Al Siciliano, with the fees to be $450 for the referee and $350 for the judges.
Motion approved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. A request by Johnny Tapia for a license to box per NAC 467.017 over 250 pounds. Dr. Romansky.
Commissioner, his information has been reviewed and found to be more than adequate, and I would recommend that he be okay.
Move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business. Request by Allstate Productions for the date July 26, 97 for boxing show to be held in Reno at the Calneva Hotel. Any?
No conflicts?
No conflicts?
Recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Well, as you can hear, the Nevada State Athletic Commission taking care of some old business and new business before they commence their hearing on the Mike Tyson decision. Again, the commission will hold a hearing and decide what the verdict will be on Mike Tyson, who, of course, bit Evander Holyfield twice during their heavyweight bout. And the commission wrapping up some old business and taking care of some other fight issues in the state of Nevada before they begin the Mike Tyson hearing, which, as you can see, is live here on ESPN. And, of course, will stay with the commission until they reach their verdict. And then we'll have also reaction after the hearing with some of our boxing analysts to discuss what's the future for Mike Tyson.
And now, I would like... the next matter on this agenda is Mr. Mike Tyson. Before we begin today, I want to commend the members of this commission
for all they did not say after the sad events of June 28. By refusing to speculate on the outcome of this meeting today, the members of the Commission have ensured that no one can accuse us of coming here predetermined to hand down certain penalties because of the incident that led to the disqualification of Mike Tyson. Without question, I think all of us are fortunate to have Mark Ratner, our executive director, here to guide us through the many details that led up to today's meeting. And of course, Commissioners Luther Mack, Matt Caraselli, Lorenzo Fertitta, and Dr. Jim Nave. I think all Nevadans are particularly proud of the way in which you have conducted yourselves under perhaps the most awkward and trying time in the history of this sport of boxing in our state. The Commission has not required Mr. Tyson to be here and will draw no negative inference from his non-attendance. I also wanted noted that this is a disciplinary hearing, and in keeping with the rules of the Nevada Administrative Procedures Act, we will not allow anyone other than those who are directly involved in this hearing to speak today until after the Commission has taken action. I also want to state to the member of the World Press here today that there will be no press questions inside these chambers. As I said before, this is a disciplinary hearing, and much like a court of law, there are rules that will be followed. And so all questions and interviews must be conducted outside of these chambers. And now I will ask the Attorney General's office to outline for us the legal manner in which we may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, on behalf of myself, Joe Ralston, Deputy Attorney General, and my co-worker, Gordy Fink, Senior Deputy Attorney General, we're pleased to present this disciplinary matter to you today. As this Commission is well aware, on July 1st, 1997, we met via an emergency meeting whereby this Commission instructed our office to prepare a disciplinary complaint against Michael Gerard Tyson. As a result of those actions and activities and events that took place on June 28, 1997, in his boxing contest with Evander Holyfield. In accordance with your wishes, we prepared such a complaint and served the same via Mr. Tyson's attorney, Marty Keach. He accepted service of this complaint on July 1st that afternoon, and we are now here today to present this disciplinary case. The Attorney General's office is prepared to present such a case. We are in hopes that we can expedite this matter through the cooperation of Mr. Tyson's attorneys, and we have presented them an evidence packet which I hope they've had ample time to review. We are in hopes that they will stipulate to the admission of this evidence so we can move this forward. With that, I'll turn to their attorneys to see if we can proceed in that manner.
Thank you, Mr. Ralston. Your office has been invaluable to the Commission on this matter, and I commend you and your colleagues for your effort. Mr. Goodman or Mr. Keach? Mr. Goodman?
Yes.
Do you have an opening statement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. We thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to appear on behalf of Mr. Tyson. Mr. Tyson spoke to the world after the fight. He told the world that he was sorry for what happened in the state of Nevada. He apologized to all those who deserved and were owed an apology. He said at that time that he was throwing himself on the mercy of this Commission because he knew in his heart that this Commission will be fair in imposing whatever penalty should justly be imposed. He has confidence that the system will work. He knows that for 13 years in the ring, he brought nothing but credit to the boxing profession. When he lost his fights, he went to his opponent and shook the opponent's hand. He was a gentleman. He remains a gentleman today. He maintains his dignity today. he has confidence that you will do the right thing at the conclusion of the presentation of the evidence in this hearing. Now, together with me is Marty Keach. He's my partner. He will be participating in the hearing as well. It's our position that we will not be stipulating to the admission of the evidence packet. However, when it's tendered by the Attorney General's office, a brief objection will be made solely for purposes of the record, and then, of course, you will make a determination as to whether or not it is appropriately admissible.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Mr. Ralston, would you present the stipulated evidence?
Mr. Chairman, there has been an indication that they will not stipulate, so for the purpose of the record, let me detail what the state's exhibits are. I will then introduce them. I will allow Mr. Goodman and/or Mr. Keach to make an objection. Then I will respond to that objection, and we'll move this forward as quickly as possible. State's exhibit number 1 is going to be the official boxing contract, the Nevada Athletic Commission's article of agreement between Don King Productions, Inc. and Mike Tyson, reflecting that Mike Tyson's purse for the bout of June 28, 1997 was $30 million. Exhibit number 2 of the state is the official scorecard of the Holyfield-Tyson bout, reflecting that Mr. Tyson was disqualified after the 3rd round as a result of his actions in the ring. Exhibit number 3 is the complaint for disciplinary action and notice of hearing, which I referenced earlier, dated July 1st, which was prepared as a result of this commission's direction to our office. Exhibit number 4 of the state is the acceptance of service of complaint, whereby Mr. Keach, Mr. Tyson's attorney, accepted service of the aforementioned complaint. Exhibit number 5 is the receipt of copy and waiver of 30-day notice requirement executed by Mr. Tyson, waiving his 30-day right to a hearing notice pursuant to Section 113 of Chapter 467 of the Nevada Revised Statutes. Exhibit number 6 is the July 1st order dated July 3rd of the Commission, whereby this Commission ordered that a complaint be prepared, that a new check to the Commission be issued by Don King Productions, Inc., and that and suspending Mike Tyson pending the disposition of this case. Exhibit number 7 is a copy of the aforementioned check, 0161809, drawn on SunTrust Bank, South Florida, from Don King Productions, Inc., made payable to Mike Tyson in the amount of $29,824,600. Exhibit number 8, and our final exhibit, is the authorized Showtime videotape. We have been in contact with Showtime. Their cooperation has been greatly appreciated. They have allowed us to use footage from the end of round 3 and during round 3, and shortly thereafter the scuffle that arose immediately after the fight. We appreciate their cooperation in this and would like to publicly thank Showtime for that. That would be the extent of our exhibits 1 through 8, and we would move that they be admitted in this disciplinary action.
Mr. Goodman, Mr. Keach, do you have anything to add?
Commissioner, just for the record, we would object based on the lack of foundation, hearsay, and just a general objection as to relevancy as to some of the exhibits, and submit it.
Mr. Rawson?
In response to that objection, I would direct this Honorable Commission's to NRS 233B.123, which is the evidence section of the Nevada Administrative Code, which provides in relevant part that evidence may be admitted except where precluded by statute if it is of type commonly relied upon by reasonable and prudent men in the conduct of their affairs. I would submit that the exhibits that I outlined a short time ago are exactly that. These are public records which were filed with the Commission. The bout agreement is an official Commission document. The official scorecard is just that, an official scorecard of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, and the authorized Showtime videotape is just that as well. It has been authorized by the holder of the rights to that, and they've allowed us to introduce this, and I certainly would submit that a videotape is something that ordinary men would rely on in conduct of their own affairs.
May I suggest that the exhibits will be admitted as evidence?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I will present to the Commission our evidence packet that consists of exhibits 1 through 7. Exhibit 8, of course, is not attached. It is, in fact, the videotape. With regards to the videotape, I would also move that this commission rule that it is able to consider the video footage it saw last week. If they are able to consider that, I see no need to present that tape today. However, if there is an objection, I would certainly allow Mr. Goodman or Mr. Keats the opportunity to respond to that.
Commissioner, obviously we have entered our objection as to the admission of the videotape. Commission's already ruled that it will be admitted. Subject to that ruling, we have no objection to the commission not replaying it. The commission had an opportunity to view the entire tape at the prior hearing. I don't see any purpose to be gained by replaying it unless the commission believes that it needs to review the tape again in order to make a finding in this case. But we certainly would be in agreement with the Deputy AG that the court or this commission could consider what it viewed at the prior hearing without having to review the tape again today.
Thank you. I think the commission has reviewed this tape, and I don't think there is any reason to review it again. I would like to take this opportunity to say that this commission appreciates the cooperation of Showtime Networks Incorporated throughout these proceedings. Showtime's understanding and cooperation enabled this commission to carefully review the events of June 28, 1997, in order that this commission can be in a position to make a fully informed decision in this case. These efforts are greatly appreciated. Now, I would like to, may I have a motion on the,
Mr. Chairman, just briefly, you have now been presented the state's evidence packet. I do not know whether Mr. Goodman has any evidence that he would like to submit. Certainly, we would not object if there is any.
We do not have any evidence, Mr. Chairman. However, we do have a motion before we proceed to the next phase.
Can we, excuse me one second.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would address this commission's attention to that part of the Nevada Administrative Code which requires that findings of fact must be based exclusively on substantial evidence. You are now holding Exhibits 1 through 7. Exhibit 8 you reviewed last week, which outlined and detailed, I think, in very clear terms exactly what occurred on June 28th. Based on Exhibits 1 through 7 and Exhibits 8, the Showtime video, we would submit and request that this commission find that the state has presented to you substantial evidence that Mr. Tyson violated the statutes and regulations as set forth in the complaint for disciplinary action dated July 1st.
Mr. Goodman?
Yes.
Would you like to make that motion now?
Yes, please.
Commissioner, the Deputy AG has presented his case and rested. We are not going to be presenting the case, but we do have a couple of motions to make just for the record. First, we would be moving to dismiss the complaint as being in violation of NRS 233B-126. We'd be moving to dismiss the complaint as being in violation of the provisions of NRS 233B-127, subsection 3, regarding the notice. And we would be moving the commission to elect, as pursuant to NRS 467-158 and NAC 467-885, a remedy. As our view, this commission is not entitled to impose a penalty as well as a revocation.
Mr. Ralston?
Mr. Chairman, allow me to briefly respond to that. Clearly, pursuant to NRS 467.070, parent 1, this commission is vested with sole direction, management, control, and jurisdiction over all contests or exhibitions of unarmed combat. There is no question that statutorily you have authority to hear this case and render a decision regarding discipline to Mike Tyson. The complaint outlines those violations which we believe that Mr. Tyson violated on June 28th. The complaint is very detailed, and there's no sense in going through it again. However, I think it should be noted that pursuant to the Nevada Administrative Act and NRS Chapter 467 and NAC Chapter 467, which is the Nevada Administrative Code, that the statutory and regulatory authority for you to hear this case, render a decision, is vast. There absolutely is no question that pursuant to all of these cited areas of the law that you have the discretion to hear this case. Additionally, I think it's important to note that Mr. Tyson originally agreed that he would have no contest to this. I believe that should be considered for this commission, but based on that, I can find no legitimate statutory or regulatory grounds for this commission not to go forward.
Thank you. We'll have to move to the final, right? Motion?
You need to rule on the motions.
Okay.
Okay. On the first motion.
Can I have a motion?
No. What you need to do is you need to ask me what to do.
Okay.
Three motions.
I'm sorry. I would like to ask Mr. Haight, representing the commission, his opinion.
Mr. Chairman, as I understand it, Mr. Tyson's counsel have made 3 separate motions in this matter. Let me deal with the last motion first. That is the one regarding the penalty. I believe that motion is premature at this time and should be reserved until the penalty phase of the argument, and we can review that motion at that time. The first motion relates to NRS 233B 126, which deals with communications with parties and with representatives by an agency making the decision. In this situation, this commission, whether or not it comes under the definition of agency, is perhaps something that can be discussed, but I think that the best way to handle this motion would be for each individual commission member to state on the record that they have received no communications which has influenced their decision, but that they are making this decision based upon their own review of the evidence. So I think if we can have an affirmation from each one of the commission members, that would resolve that issue of the motion.
I will call them personally. Commissioner Carcelli.
Yes, I have had no conversation with anyone concerning my decision, and my decision is only based on the evidence.
Commissioner Mack.
I affirm also, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fertitta.
Affirm as well.
Dr. Jimney.
I affirm as well.
Thank you.
You affirm yourself.
And I confirm it myself as chairman. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, based on the commission's affirmation that they have not been influenced in their decisions by any communications, I think it would be appropriate to deny the motion to dismiss under NRS 233B.126.
Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny based on that.
There is a motion. And
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
There's a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next motion has to do with NRS 233B.127. That statute requires that before disciplinary action is taken and a license is revoked, that an individual be given notice and opportunity to present all evidence that he was in compliance with the licensing statutes. It is my position that this notice and opportunity at today's hearing would satisfy that requirement. In addition, I would note that Mr. Tyson signed a waiver allowing this commission to go forward today. And so for those reasons, I would recommend that this motion be dismissed as well. Or be denied.
I'll make the motion that be denied also.
Second.
There is a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Can we have any final argument from either party, Mr. Alstom or Mr. Goodman?
Yes,
The state has nothing further. We believe that there is substantial evidence before the commission to render a decision regarding Mr. Tyson's alleged violations.
Mr. Goodman?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I want you to know that as a lawyer, sometimes we have to do things that our client doesn't necessarily want us to do. And as lawyers, Mr. Keach and myself decided that in order to be lawyer-like, we had to take the course that we've taken as far as this hearing is concerned. Mr. Tyson's position was completely contrary to that. Mr. Tyson wanted to make it shorter, and sweeter. He wanted to throw himself on your mercy without preserving any type of legal remedies. And because we're the lawyers, we told him what we're going to do, but as a client, we're doing this against his particular desires, because he really believes that his course of action of contrition, of apology, is the only way to go as far as achieving a result which is just and equitable. I've been practicing law in this marvelous state for 32 years. And the one thing that I could tell each of you is something that you already know, and that is Nevada represents independence, strength and fortitude, and doing the right thing. Through those 32 years that I traveled around the United States, people were critical of why a lawyer would live in Las Vegas, Nevada, where sin abounded, and there was nothing other than hotels and casinos, and nothing of cultural or social value. And I explained to them the reason that I lived in Nevada is because Nevadans do the right thing. Mike Tyson has spent enough time in Nevada to know that Nevadans do the right thing without concern for what other people think, as long as the Nevadans believe what they're doing is right. And I would submit that, as a matter of tradition in this country, the penalties that I've read about in the media which are being suggested are so unfair and so unrealistic that Mr. Tyson had to believe, as I do, that this commission will do the right thing. Mike Tyson admits that he committed a wrong. Baseball players have spit in the faces of umpires. Basketball players have kicked innocent persons sitting by the floor. Football players have hit with such viciousness that they've crippled people. Mike Tyson, through 13 years, has lived an exemplary life in the ring. He told the world that he snapped. I submit to you that somebody standing before you in his place is entitled to consideration that he made a mistake. He expects to be punished severely for that mistake. That's his expectation, but you, in fulfilling your function as Nevadans, responsible to this state and its reputation, will be fair and do the right thing in making your determination. And I thank you on behalf of Mr. Tyson.
Thank you. I just want to assure you that, and the press and the world, that I don't know of any commissioners that has ever made any statement as to the discipline of Mr. Mike Tyson in the newspaper. Mr. Alstom, do you have anything to add?
No, I think at this time, Mr. Chairman, it would be appropriate for the commission to consider a motion as to whether or not there is substantial evidence that Mike Tyson violated the statutes and regulations cited and alleged in the complaint.
Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
I move that there is substantial evidence to support the allegation of the complaint for disciplinary action dated July 1, 1997 against Michael Gerard Tyson. I move that Michael Gerard Tyson be found guilty of a foul of unsportsmanlike conduct in connection with the contest of unarmed combat in violation of Nevada Revised Statute 467110(1)C by engaging in unsportsmanlike action which caused injury to an opponent in violation of Nevada Administrative Code 467675, paragraph 14, and further that Michael Gerard Tyson be found to have conducted himself in a manner which is deemed by this commission to reflect discredit to boxing in violation of Nevada Administrative Code 467885, paragraph 4.
Mr. Chairman, I second that motion.
There is a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Fink, the Attorney General, for his arguments and recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Mr. Goodman has stated that he's lived here for 32 years and Nevada has always done the right thing. The Attorney General, who's lived here even longer than that, knows that the Commission will do the right thing. And we believe that the right thing in this instance is to hand down the maximum penalties, revocation and a 10% fine, for one simple reason. The events that took place on June 28th demand the maximum penalty that can be given in an administrative hearing, and that is revocation of Mike Tyson's boxing license and a 10% fine from the purse. Suspension in this case, no matter how long, would not be enough. Suspension is a mere interruption, a mere delay, and the events demand greater action than that. Let me address one of Mr. Goodman's points about other sports. Boxing is unlike any other sport. Comparisons between boxing and baseball, football, or basketball are meaningless. The object of boxing is violence. There's a fine line between sports and chaos. And what happened on June 28th, those events went beyond that line. Remember, you are not here to license baseball players, football players, or basketball players. You license boxing. And because of that, and because of the very nature of the sport, it needs strict adherence to its rules and regulations. The Executive Director of the Commission and the Attorney General of Nevada ask for three things, and we urge this Commission to do it: to revoke the boxing license of Mike Tyson, to administratively fine Mike Tyson the maximum $3 million in this case, and to assess Mike Tyson the cost of these proceedings. On behalf of Frankie Sudell-Papa, the Attorney General, Joe Ralston, who has been my co-counsel for the last year and a half, and I'm always happy that I can always be with him, we leave the final decision on the penalty to you. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Goodman, Mr. Keach, do you have any presentation regarding the discipline?
Commissioner Ghanem, Mr. Goodman has already made our presentation concerning what we believe is appropriate, and he's submitted it to your discretion. The only thing I would do is renew our prior objection to imposing both the fine as well as the revocation as being in violation of NRS 467-158 and NAC 467-885.
Thank you. Mr. Fink. Let's wait till we can ask him now. I would like to ask Mr. Fink for any rebuttal to this argument.
We'll give some rebuttal. Last night, Joe went through the legislative history of this particular statute, and Joe, why don't you go through that?
I think it's important for this commission to realize that Section 158 of Nevada Revised Statutes, Chapter 467, is in fact your statutory authority to fine and revoke. However, it's also coupled with other statutory references and regulations as well. For example, NRS 467.157 provides that any license issued under Chapter 467 may be revoked for cause deemed sufficient by the Commission upon a hearing. Well, we've had a hearing. This is the hearing. Section 158 provides in its first part that except as otherwise provided in subsection 3, this Commission can prescribe a penalty if someone seeks relicensure after their license has been revoked. Section 2 provides that except as otherwise provided in subsection 3, in lieu of revoking a license, i.e. doing something other than revoking a license, you can seek a monetary penalty not to exceed $250,000. In 1991, the $250,000 was $25,000. And our legislature said that's apparently insufficient. And they changed the $25,000 to $100,000. They also added Section 3, which is virtually unchanged since 1991. And that is that if the revocation or proposed revocation relates to the occurrence of a contest or exhibition of unarmed combat or any other action taken in conjunction with a contest or exhibition of unarmed combat, this Commission may prescribe a penalty not to exceed $250,000 or 10%. But in 1991, it was $100,000. 1993 came along. And my guess is some of these commissioners remember that probably there was a disciplinary action where someone said, $100,000 seems insufficient. The legislature heard you, and they changed it to $250,000. We're now in 1997, and as recently as July 6th, Senate Bill 488 went to enrollment. And this section, the legislature said, in our purpose, we want to authorize the Nevada Athletic Commission to impose a monetary penalty in certain circumstances of 100% of the share of the purse to which a person involved in unarmed combat is entitled. What section do they look to? We want to increase the monetary penalty from 10% to 100%. This is the authority we want to give our Athletic Commission. They went to Section 158. That's exactly the section that Mr. Keach and Mr. Goodman argue, in fact, doesn't give you that authority. But your legislature had said in 1991, confirmed it in 1993 by their actions, and certainly have confirmed it in 1997, that this is your section. This is the section you look to. Do you want to revoke? Yes. If you want to revoke and it's a result of the occurrence of unarmed combat, guess what? It's $250,000 or 10% of the purse. Senate Bill 488 now provides, and let me make this perfectly clear, this remedy is not available to this Commission. Only the remedy that was available on the statutory, at the statutory level and on the books at the time of the incident can be considered. But as an indication that this is what your legislature deems to be the section that gives you this authority, they've now taken the 10% and gone to 100%. And my guess is it was as a direct result of what happened on June 28th. They looked and said, 10% isn't enough for our Commission. 100% needs to be what their authority is. How can you say they don't have the authority when this legislature, our legislature, which has always heard the cries of its agencies and the needs of its people, has now upped it to 100% for future events? In addition, Section 3, which is the section that we're referencing, has now been changed to say if disciplinary action is taken against a person pursuant to this chapter. They cleared up all the confusion. Not only is this your section, this is what you do if you take action against a person pursuant to this chapter. So based on that, I believe the record, the legislative history, and the recent amendments make it very clear that you have the absolute and complete authority to revoke Mr. Tyson's license and fine him up to 10% of his purse, in this case, $3 million.
Thank you, Mr. Ralston. I understand that Mr. Holyfield's lawyer, Jim Thomas, would like to address this commission. I'm going to allow it since Mr. Holyfield was involved in the boxing match. Mr. Thomas? I swear, man. Could you raise your right hand, please? Can you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Speak through the microphone.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm here and I'll be brief. I just want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding of what Mr. Holyfield's position is in all of this. Mr. Holyfield could not be here today. He's in South Africa representing the boxing community and paying his respects to President Mandela and speaking to the children of South Africa about the importance of education and perseverance in face of adversity. Although Evander is the most direct victim of the acts by Mike Tyson that are the subject of this proceeding, he personally has no interest in this proceeding in punishing Mike Tyson in any way. He has forgiven Mike Tyson, and in fact, he hopes that Mike gets the help he needs and takes the steps he needs to take so that someday in time he'll find inner peace and something like this will never happen again. To Evander, this is not about Mike Tyson. This hearing is about the future of boxing. No individual boxer has ever been, is now, or ever will be bigger than the sport of boxing. Boxing is a sport that Evander loves and has devoted much of his life to. He knows that when honorably practiced, it can be a great contest of courage and skill and strength and character. He also knows that boxing is under great scrutiny right now. In fact, the eyes of the world are on this commission, and what the commission decides today will largely determine how boxing is perceived around the world for some time to come. People want to know whether this is a true and legitimate sport whose rules will be enforced, or whether it is uncontrolled violence in which even the most reprehensible acts are tacitly condoned. This commission will send that message. Under these circumstances, we think it is incumbent upon this commission to make a strong and clear statement to the world that this is, in fact, a true and legitimate and honorable sport, and that certain acts are simply categorically and absolutely unacceptable and will be met with appropriate sanctions. Gentlemen, Evander and I respect this commission greatly, and the very difficult work that this commission does. We appreciate your hard work and the work of Mark Ratner and Dr. Hermansky, and we appreciate the difficulty of this decision. We ask only one thing. We simply ask that your decision be based upon not the interests of any individual, but upon the interests, the best interest of the sport of boxing. That's all we ask.
Thank you.
Could there be a ruling on the motion, Mr. Keach's motion, before we proceed?
Rule on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, essentially, Mr. Tyson's attorneys have made an argument of statutory construction, and they are asking that this commission determine whether or not they have the authority to issue both a fine and a revocation. I have reviewed the statute, NRS 467, 157 and 158 when taken together, and when reviewing statutory construction, you must review the whole act together. It appears to me that that you have both the authority to revoke and to fine in the same proceeding, and I would recommend to you that you deny that motion at this time.
Can I have a motion to deny?
Moved.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Motion passes. I, for one, believe we must take the most stringent action available to us, which it appears is a maximum fine of $3 million and revocation of license. That is my personal view, but I would like to hear from my fellow commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask our attorney a couple of questions, please?
Please, Dr. Nave, Commissioner Nave.
Don, if we make a decision to revoke this license, is that for indefinite or life, unless a future commission should change that?
Dr. Nave, there's been a lot of discussion about suspension versus revocation, and some people have used those terms interchangeably, and that's not correct. A suspension is a taking away of someone's right to practice under a license for a limited period of time, but the license still exists, so that if you are suspended for a year, 2 years, whatever, at the end of that suspension period, the license is automatically reinstated and the licensee goes forward without having to take any further action. In the case of a revocation, the license ceases to exist. There is no further license, and without further action by either the former licensee or this commission, that license would never be restored. So in that aspect, the revocation is a permanent or lifetime action. What is required under our regulations is that if an individual does have their license revoked, then they may reapply for licensure after the expiration of 1 year. But at that point, they are going to be treated solely as a new applicant. And this commission has full authority to review that application, and you could deny that application at that time, or you could grant it. If you deny a new application in a year, then your regulations further provide that there would not be any new application for another year after that. So essentially, this is a permanent revocation with an annual review, and unless this commission changes its mind, then that would be a lifetime revocation.
If after a year and it comes up, do we have to have new evidence to deny that, or is the evidence that was presented today enough to deny?
One of the provisions that when you license individuals is that have they been found guilty of committing a foul. And if they have, you have the discretion to deny licensure. Based upon your finding of guilty at this point in this proceeding where you have found that Mr. Tyson did, in fact, commit a foul in an unarmed contest, unarmed combat, then you could continue to deny his application based upon that finding alone without any other new evidence.
And if we do suspend or revoke, then does 467, 890, and 895 go into effect?
Yes, it definitely would, and just for the record, what that provision says is that people that are licensed by this commission shall not have any dealings related to boxing or wrestling with any person whose license has been suspended or revoked by the commission. So what that means is that if you go ahead and suspend or revoke Mr. Tyson's licenses, then other...
John Butchergross back in the ESPN newsroom. Of course, you're watching the Nevada State Athletic Commission hearing on the Mike Tyson situation. We welcome our ESPN2 viewers. Now back to the hearing in Las Vegas.
Any more questions, Dr. Nave? Any more questions from the other commissioners?
Yes, I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Mack?
When does it start? On what date? What,
from the
penalty of revocation?
The revocation would take place from the date of your written order being served upon Mr. Tyson. That would be the start, and then the year would go from that date.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carasali?
Don, let's say that a person is, we license annually, and a person's license is up for renewal versus a person that's suspended, and let's say suspension time is up and he has to apply for a license. What is the difference?
Essentially, I think you've given me three examples. A person who is just up for renewal, at that point, it's the burden is on the commission to show that there would be some reason why they shouldn't be renewed. A person who has been suspended, when the suspension's up, then the license is automatically reinstated. When a person is revoked, or a person is they're treated as a new applicant, and that person has the burden of coming forward to the commission and proving their suitability.
Any more questions from members of the commission? May I have a motion for discipline, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that Michael Gerard Tyson's boxing license be revoked, and further move that Michael Gerard Tyson pay administrative fine in the amount of $3 million, and that he also be assessed for all costs of these proceedings.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now I would like to have, is there any public comment?
We'll have you line up. We're going to give you 1 minute, 2 minutes to speak, one at a time.
Please,
Say your name.
just for the record, state your name and thank you. And make sure we just have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Let me get some of the people. We'll let some of the people walk out so we can hear them.
Take a recess. The press will decide. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, you could ask him to be quiet so we can...
Can we please have some quiet because we like to proceed? Please.
My name is Mohammed Mubarak. I'm a personal friend of Mike Tyson's. And I want to stand here before you guys to let you know...
Excuse me, I would like to have as much silence as possible, or I will have to ask to clear this room, please.
So the five-man Nevada State Athletic Commission has agreed that Mike Tyson's license has been revoked. He can reapply in a year. If he's denied then, he'll have to wait another year to reapply. Also fine the maximum 10% of his purse, which was $30 million, which means Mike Tyson, along with having his license revoked, has been fined $3 million. Much more reaction on this decision coming up on the ESPN television networks. Back with more after this.